Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Thursday, July 20th, 2017. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions and nature realm's guardians. The current occupying souls seem to be nature realm's presences, but they are as selfish as any other presences in any dimensions that we have awareness of. And that's not what a nature realm's guardian is. A guardian is someone who is working on behalf of others who are small or cannot speak for themselves and who need help.
That's true.
Someone higher than those is asking, what do I know? And I know that the assignment that we've been working with all day today is likely to continue to be helpful. And what else do I know? I know the questions that we ask ourselves determine our experience of sentience.
That's true.
And what else do I know? I also know that it matters who we ask the questions of. And so when we say the questions we ask ourselves, that's an oversimplification that can be misleading. It's important to ask up, ask through the dimensions to less dense dimensions, to higher powers, and ask higher powers for advice on all topics of life. No topic too big, no topic too small. And what do I know? I know that in this era of extremely thick, toxic astral realms that they can't see for the most part, other than through our own eyes. We have to let them come in and then they can see. And so when we let these higher powers come in, sometimes they can give us very helpful, on-point advice.
That's true.
And what else do I know? I know that for the most part, presences have horizontal intuitive alignment, or even downward intuitive channels, or channels into their own minds, and so their intuition is telling them exactly what they think, and they're getting feedback in a closed loop that is really unhealthy and destroys lives really quickly.
That's true.
There's the and therefore hand.
Yes.
And therefore the only thing that we have found that works is to ask up for all topics of life. What now in order to, and then the goal. And what else do I know? I know that if we aren't working on the fundamental assignments of our soul plans, if that isn't part of the inquiry in every moment, that it's just too inconvenient and scary, and the soul plan just never makes it to the top of the pile, and we waste a life doing other things.
That's true.
And what else do I know? We still die. It's inevitable. All of us die, which is simply transitioning dimensionally.
That's true.
But the dimensional transitions do occur, and then we're held accountable. What did you do in that life just ended? Did you do anything that you said you would do when you went in? How much of what you said you would do when you went in did you do? And sadly, almost nobody does anything that they said they would do when they went in, which goes a long way toward explaining the disasters that are unfolding.
That's true.
And there's the go on hand.
I see the hand.
And therefore, what we're probably supposed to do right now is to ask up, what now, in order to create an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions, no matter what anyone else does or doesn't do, since that's what our soul contract commits us to doing, and an actual divine plan must be based on actual sentiences in the dimensions in which they're actually experiencing sentience, with their actual awarenesses, actual intentions, and actual resources. What now?
That question is going up really high.
And while the question is going up, we can just groom up the soul plans. It's very similar to grooming the karmic records.
That's true.
Grooming up the soul plans for the deeper, denser dimensions. And with that motion in place, the structural grooming motion in place, begin to add in the intention to be creating an actual divine plan for these smaller levels. Whew, suddenly big sweating.
That's true.
Woohoo! And now add in the intention to include not only the actual sentiences in the dimensions in which they're actually experiencing sentience, but to add in their actual awareness.
That's a big shift.
It's a big shift in what seems to be falling away this time, as it was last time we were working it not too long ago, is a lot of pet projects.
That's true.
Sentiences that are the pet projects of those in levels larger than us, sentiences in levels smaller than ground zero, that are pet projects of sentiences in levels larger than ground zero.
That's true.
That just have absolutely no vertical awareness at all. Their channels are down or horizontal.
That's
and
true.
So they're taking advice from people in their dimension, or even from people in darker vibrations.
That's true.
And they're making bad choices, and they don't have any awareness. And so, and what do we know? We know that resources are scarce.
That's true.
And it doesn't make any sense to allocate any resources to presences who don't have any upward awareness. That just doesn't make sense.
That's true. Big sadness coming in from above.
Lots of sadness. Let's continue to groom up the soul plans for the deeper, denser dimensions with the intention to create an actual divine plan. If somebody's asking, what is a divine plan? For decades now, when we ask that question, the definition that consistently comes in from wiser minds above is that a divine plan creates lives of joy and worlds that work. In other words, it is a plan in which everybody is living his or her individual soul plan and doing what they're supposed to be doing with good attitudes, thereby experiencing joyful lives and also creating worlds that work. That's what a divine plan is. Why do you ask? And also, is there anybody above you creating a divine plan for your dimension?
I feel lots of looking up feelings.
Lots of looking up and sad,
So sad.
sad feelings. Friends, listen, this is an echo point. This is not the source of this information. This is an echo point of this information, but they're saying, look, there's nothing that any of us can do about the lack of divine plan in our own dimension, but there's an awful lot that we can do about the lack of a divine plan in smaller dimensions. We can be the change. We can create the change. And who knows what that will do? Maybe by creating divine plans in the foundations of our lives, something changes in our dimension, and maybe not. What difference does it make? It is what we're supposed to do, and therefore we can create experiences of joy for ourselves and worlds that work for smaller levels.
That's true.
It's fulfilling work. Come on, let's do it. And now we structurally groom up the soul plans of the deeper, denser dimensions, the actual sentiences in the deeper, denser dimensions, in the dimensions in which they're actually experiencing sentience, with their actual awarenesses. So everybody who doesn't have vertical awareness off the table, there is 0 point in allocating resources to them.
That's true.
And now add in the actual intentions, the intentions to work for the needs of the greater good rather than our own personal needs. The needs of the greater good matter more than the needs of individuals and groups, and so all of those with selfish intent or manipulative intent off the table, with all of those pet projects and their presences up there who keep pulling these manipulative shamanic type people back onto the table.
That's true.
I agree. I wish they made better choices. They're saying that, but they'll just make some better choices. And not vibrationally, not based on, we're just doing a vibrational sort. We're not looking at name tags.
That's true.
Look, they've got to go.
Yeah, that's true.
But now, in order to create an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions, based on actual sentiences in the dimensions in which they're actually experiencing sentience with their actual awarenesses and actual intentions. There's somebody from higher levels reaching past those presences upstairs.
That's
who
true.
are holding on to the twisted monsters.
That's true.
And they're cutting the strings that are being used to pull the twisted monsters on the table.
I feel the cutting.
There go the twisted monsters.
Oh. Now it's clearer in the head.
Clearer in the head. But now, in order to create an actual divine plan, keep using that grooming motion, drawing the soul plans into harmony with each other for the deeper, denser dimensions while we ask up. What now? In order to create an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions based on actual sentiences in the dimensions in which they're actually experiencing sentience with their actual awareness. Well, some of those no awareness people were back on the table.
That's true.
That fast.
That's true.
Live streaming up. We notice that people are still pulling their pet projects back onto the table.
That's true.
The pet projects are failing the vibrational sort. Somebody's asking for an analogy. It's like governmental budgeting, where the Congress people's pet projects get funding even though the pet projects aren't working. And instead school lunches are cut when 23% of the children in America live in poverty.
That's true.
And they're not getting food at home because they're living in poverty, and school lunches are their nutritional basis
That's true.
for health. And how are they going to grow up? They're going to grow up unhealthy and with inadequate brain power, because that's what happens.
That's
Weak
true.
bodies, weak minds. That's what happens with low nutrition during developmental years. And so we're creating for ourselves stupid generations to come by our selfish choices.
That's true.
Is that a good enough analogy for you?
I feel nodding.
Yes. But now, in order to create an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions that's based on actual sentiences, in the dimensions in which they're actually experiencing sentience. Oh, right there, look, friends, you cannot include dead people's soul plans.
They're saying, why not?
I think it's time to flip the burden of proof on that. I think it's time to ask, why would that possibly make any sense?
Whoa.
And look up, look up, look up, look up. Don't argue with the echo point. That's foolishness in the extreme. Look up to who's talking to you. Do you see that face that's coming down through the clouds, that enormous face?
Yes.
Okay. Now the person is sitting back up. It's like they bent over and got real close to the portal, and now they're sitting back up. That's who's
true.
talking. Do you really want to argue with that person?
The presence doesn't want to answer because he does want to keep arguing.
I do see a lot of other people hanging up and going back to work.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, well, I can't deal with this. I've got to work on my day job.
That's right.
In other words, letting go of the interdimensional focus and going horizontal themselves.
That's true.
What now, in order to create an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions, based on actual sentiences, in their actual dimensions of experiencing sentience, with their actual awareness, woohoo, and actual intentions, and now let's add in, and actual resources. That is very head opening, because down there's so few people. There's Pan, and there's a couple skinny kids.
That's true.
And they're still there. They've got good intention and good awareness and basically no resources. And Pan is I think he's laughing with that laughter that comes when the project looks absolutely impossible, because he had managed to accumulate some people with resources, but they have neither awareness nor intentions that are positive.
That's true.
And when we do this sort, and we're just sorting vibrationally, we're not looking at name tags, those people go away.
Oh, that's true.
They don't make the grade. So it's Pan and 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's a challenge worthy of our abilities. What now? And so to Pan and those 2 kids, we say, look, what you guys do the same thing. Use this sorting motion like we're using to groom up the soul plans of the dimensions deeper than where you're experiencing sentience, and work to create an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions from where you are, deeper and denser than that dimension. Work to create a divine plan for the dimensions that are deeper and denser than the dimension in which you are experiencing primary sentience. And then we can suggest to those presences down there that they do the same for the dimensions that are deeper and denser than their dimensions, and so on.
That's true.
This is something we can do. And Pan says, well, what good will that do? I don't know.
I don't know.
But I know it isn't working very well without that, so what? Let's try. Isn't it worth a try? Maybe big caverns will open up. Sometimes that happens. Boom,
That's
boom,
true.
boom.
Sometimes it does.
Everybody seems to think there's still light below. It's just buried. And so this is a good way to find out.
That's true.
Let's see how deep we can get. By trying to create, actually trying to create a divine plan, an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions that's based on actual sentiences in the dimensions in which they're actually experiencing sentience, with their actual awarenesses, actual intentions, and actual resources. Come on, we can do it. Aim up to somebody, to the highest presence who's aware of this project, who also is on board with the experiment of creating an actual divine plan for the deeper, denser dimensions with regard to their dimension.
Oh.
Whew, up it goes. That's very
Way
head
up
clearing. Way up. High. I see a hand grabbing it so high up.
That's true.
Thank you. They feel excited about this project.
That's true.
Yay.
Yay.